With that, we are going to jump in and thank you for joining me today on the People First Leadership webinar. Today, we're going to talk about how leaders uh, can deal with problems that they might be too close to. And proximity does have effects, positive and negative. I just got done talking with a group of trainees. I call them trainees, but I've been contracted to work with a group of emerging leaders who are not yet in leadership positions, but would like to be and like to grow themselves. And we talked about how sometimes your presence, either close to a situation or far away from a situation, can affect it one way or the other. I was talking about a scenario where two people were starting to have a disagreement in a meeting, and the leader of that group of people happened to just be standing. And so instead of inserting themselves into that situation, all they did was took 2 or 3 steps towards the people who were having the disagreement. The whole room saw it. And that kind of was a physical presence that just said, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm watching, and I'm deciding if I need to interact with this situation or not. So that kind of signaled to everybody else, okay, that person's in charge. They're aware of the situation. And the people who were having the disagreement kind of looked up and were like, yeah, okay, we're going to cool it a little bit. Leader never had to say anything. Leader just had to be present. The converse is also true. Sometimes your distance can tell people that you're leading a lot as well. If you stay distant, why aren't you engaging? And if you stay distant and don't engage in whatever it is that maybe needed to be engaged in, people will then start to, well, if they're not going to do it, I might as well jump in and do it, even though I'm not the leader. And that may not be what you want to happen either. Also, sometimes distance can be a good thing. Sometimes you need to let people make mistakes and fail on their own, because hardship and failure is sometimes the best teacher you can have. You don't learn things and grow from easy times. You learn things and grow from hard times. And I think every single one of us who is listening to this or watching this today will agree with that. The times in your own life when you have grown the most didn't come when everything was just daisies and roses. It came when you had to really push through, had to really go through some hard times and negative times. But just because they were hard and negative does not mean that they were bad. I read the Bible, and there's a passage in the Bible that says, all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purposes. And that means even the bad times. Even the bad times can work for your good. Maybe not right then, but maybe in the future. And I think all of us can agree to that. So let's jump in today and talk about recognizing when your proximity is clouding your leadership. Because, yeah, sometimes that can happen. I see this often with businesses and organizations where family members share leadership or are joint leading something. I've seen this two times in the past 12 months, specifically with businesses where there's a husband-wife team who are owners and running the business. I think it can go well. And then I have seen situations, not been part of, but seen situations where a husband and wife team can run a business effectively. The two that I have experienced have not. They have struggled with that because of their relationship at home. And then it gets clouded. Well, when we're at home, we're like this, but then when we're at work, we're like this. And those lines get blurred. There's not a clear delineation of who is in charge. So going back to the couples who do it well, there is a clear delineation of who is in what role, who is doing what responsibilities, and both parties respect that and abide by that. That is the key. When you start getting into the realm of, oh, well, that's my husband or that's my wife, I know I can just do this. If it is not within your bounds or your authority to do, don't do it. You should not do it. And so that's just a real quick example of when I see some of that getting clouded. I think another thing is that we need to talk about is emotions. If you are emotionally invested in a situation, or it's an emotionally charged situation that you are involved in, I think you need to just take a real quick temperature check. Like, should I be doing this right now? Should I be involved in this right now? I think back to parenting advice. You know, a lot of parent mentors and coaches will say, never discipline your child when you're angry. Well, a lot of times that's what we as parents do is we're angry, go to your room and, whatever, we dole out the punishment. But same holds true with businesses and organizations. Are you emotionally charged? Is this emotionally a time when you can make good decisions on whatever this problem is arising? So, and sometimes your familiarity may cause you to overlook obvious issues. Again, I see this most of the time with family issues. Well, that's my cousin Jim, not a big deal. Or, oh yeah, she's my daughter. I know. We're just going to let it go. Well, maybe it's okay for you to let it go, but what is that doing to the rest of the employees that have to watch one more time? Oh, just let it go. It's my daughter. It's not a big deal. Well, maybe to them it's a really big deal. And they're upset because they have to abide by the rules, but apparently your daughter doesn't. And I think we also have to ask the hard question of, if you are continually doing that with, oh, it's my daughter, just let it go, what are you teaching your daughter? And so we have to really look at that. Are there times to bend the rules? Yes, I think there are. I'll give you a really good example that I heard about this week. There is a company that I'm familiar with. They have I guess I'll call it a policy for attendance, where you can't take personal time off the day before or the day after a holiday, just because that's when a lot of people, want to do that. And so that's their company policy. And so there was one of the employees had their time off approved the day before a holiday by one of the managers, and it was put on the public calendar for all to see. I was like, that wasn't a good look. Well, so the owner kind of contacted the manager and was like, hey, we have a policy against this. You went and did that. What's up with that? And I won't go into great detail just because I know I'm going to be putting this on YouTube. But there was a family emergency situation that was happening the day before the holiday, and the family knew that was coming up, and so they were able to plan for it. The owner and CEO said, absolutely, you should have given them the time off. That was the right thing to do. But let's bend the rule privately, not secretively, where we're keeping it from other people because we want to be secretive about it. But hey, okay, Todd, I understand you've got this major family issue coming up. It does happen to fall the day before the holiday. I understand that. Yes, I'm going to approve you the time off. I'm not going to put it on the calendar. That's going to be between you and I. And if anybody has questions about it, they can come ask me about it. Okay, directly. That's a time where I think, yes, bending the rule was absolutely 100% the right thing to do. Should you make a habit of that? No, but life happens. I get it. There is gray area that sometimes that we just have to navigate through. And if somebody's going to be mad about it, yep, okay, you can be mad. I'm still going to make the right decision because that was the right thing to do at that time. So going back to being too familiar with the situation, sometimes your closeness to a situation will cloud your judgment and cause you to overlook obvious issues. It's just my daughter. Yep, you're too close. Because if I was running that company, she's your daughter, not mine. So no, you're not going to get away with that. And you need to hold yourself to that same standard. If you wouldn't let somebody else's daughter get away with that, then by golly, you shouldn't let your daughter get away with it either. And I have seen this played out as well. Owners who employ their family members, if they hold their family members to the same standard as the rest of the staff respects the owner better. Absolutely 100%. Because then they look and say, man, I'm like, it's their own kid, and they told them no. Like, wow, I really respect that. I've seen this in the education field before, where many of you know my background is in education. I was a teacher and assistant principal, dean of academic affairs at several schools. And one of the things I saw one time was a principal suspend their own child because their child had gotten into a fight, that their child was kind of the problem. And they suspended their own child. That reverberated through the entire school, not just the staff, but through the other kids as well. Because the other kids were like, dang, principal so-and-so suspended their own kid. Wow. Everybody's level of respect raised for that principal. And It went a long ways. Was it awkward at home? I am sure it was awkward at home, but everybody respected the principal more after that event. So let's talk about the value of perspective and stepping back to see the whole picture. So I use this analogy. We've all seen movies where there is a nightclub scene. And what I want you to envision when you're thinking about this is I want you to envision a nightclub that's dark, there's lights flashing, and the dance floor is packed, absolutely packed. So if you were in the middle of the dance floor, if you were the same height as everybody else or shorter, you would not be able to see any exit doors, right? So if I were to give you a little earpiece in your ear and say, hey, go to the exit door, you would be like, well, I don't know which direction to go. I can't see anything. All I see is people around me dancing with their hands in the air and having a great time. Exactly. But if I were then to take myself and put myself on a balcony above the dance floor and say, hey, look up, I'm on the balcony. Can you see me? Yeah, I can see you up there because I'm above everybody else. All right. I'm going to direct you to the exit doors through the earpiece because I can see all of the exits. Do you see where I'm going with this? I hope so. As leaders, sometimes we need to pull back to that balcony view. Sometimes we need to take a step back and assess the entire situation. Now, I know there are situations and times and even people who are going to try to pull you into the trenches, pull you into the minutia of a situation to get you to react, to get you to do a certain thing, to get you to make a quick decision that may be in their favor or against somebody else or whatever. You as a leader have to stay calm, cool, and collected. I can't even remember the amount of times I've said that in the past couple weeks through some of my trainings and clients that I've worked with. You have to stay calm, cool, and collected and be able to pull back and say, okay, I will always take being accused of making a slow decision well rather than making a fast decision hastily. I'll say that again. I would rather be accused of making a slow decision well and making the right call than making a hasty decision and it be the wrong call. So if that means, hey, I'm going to take 10 minutes and pull back and reassess everything that's going on, or maybe I take a day. Hey, you know what? Yep, I know you want me to respond to this right now. I'm really close to the situation. And so I need to pull back and see if I need to recuse myself a little bit. But yeah, give me a day and then I'll give you a decision on that. That's perfectly okay. Set that hard boundary. Nope, I'll give you a decision tomorrow. Well, we need something today. I can't give it to you today because I'm too close to the situation. I need to think about this. I'll give it to you tomorrow. Okay. And as long as obviously it's not a life-threatening situation that needs to be decided on right now, yes, take that time. It's okay. And set those boundaries. Or maybe this is a decision that you can hand off to somebody else. Again, I see this oftentimes with families that employ family members. But maybe your VP is not a family member, and maybe your VP can make that decision and see more clearly. Okay, yep, little Timmy, my nephew, just asked for the day before 4th of July off, and that's company policy is we don't do that. And man, I really want to give it to him, but I don't want to tell him no. Hey, VP, can you handle this? Because if I tell Jimmy no, then my sister's going to be all mad about it. But if it comes from you, that's objective because you're not his uncle. And okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do it that way. Yep. And delegate. As leaders, we have to know how to delegate. And sometimes it's delegating the hard things. And people will respect you for that. That's not you running away from it. And let them ask you about it. Absolutely. I am very comfortable having awkward, hard conversations. One, because I'm okay being wrong if I'm wrong, and I'm okay taking ownership in that. And I've done that before. People will be like, oh, da. And I'll be like, you know what? You're right. That's a really good point. I was wrong. Yep, we're going to change course. And that is so disarming to people, but that has really earned me a lot of respect because just because I say it doesn't mean that my way is the highway. If there's a better idea or something that is going to suit the company better, then yes, maybe that's where we need to pivot to go. And I have to let go of my own ego. As leaders, I know this is hard, but sometimes I need to let go of my own ego so that I can make those pivots. And, It's hard to do. I understand that. It is absolutely hard to do. So maybe you delegate to your VP or one of your directors or one of your managers and get outside perspective from them. Maybe it's still your decision to make, and maybe it's still your decision to execute, but maybe your VP, your director, your manager, they take that for you because it's just a better look. It's just better. It's going to be better in the long run. So leaders, we need to think not just operationally, not just what's going to get the thing done, the most effective and quickest and most efficient, but we also need to think strategically. And thinking strategically means you consider all options. What is going to give us the best outcome? I have been in positions where the best outcome is only going to go through me changing my mind to something I don't like. Now, just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means that I don't like it. But if what I don't like is the best solution to the problem, then Todd has to swallow his pride, let go of his ego, and say, okay, yes, you're absolutely right. I'll give you a really good example. I was having a conversation with my oldest daughter a couple of years ago, and we were talking about it was a protein bar. She was eating a protein bar for lunch like every day. And in my mind, these protein bars are covered in chocolate. And I'm like, it's a candy bar. And so finally I was like, sweetheart, I don't want you to eat a protein bar for lunch every single day because there's a lot of sugar in them. It's covered in chocolate. Like you're eating a candy bar every single day. And this is one of these defining moments in our relationship. And I absolutely love it. I'll never forget it. I watched her kind of swallow, and I watched the moment in her brain where she was like, I'm going to engage and disagree with Dad. And she did. She's like, Dad, I know that you want me, and she was being super careful because she doesn't want to get in trouble. And she was like, Dad, I know you don't want me to eat like candy bars every day for lunch, but you and Mom buy these protein bars and keep them in the house. And I've looked at the ingredients and I've looked at how much sugar is in them, how much protein is in them, and they're not unhealthy. They're actually really good. And I was like, and as the dad, not in leadership mode, just dad mode, I was like, oh, this girl. But I swallowed it for a second, and I took a second and I just closed my eyes and I was like, okay, this is a defining moment in our relationship. I was like, okay, honey, go get the box. Let's look at it together. So she went to the cupboard, got the box. We went over the ingredients together. And I was like, you're right. These are not candy bars. The sugar that is in them is natural. The chocolate is very low. These are actually really healthy to eat. Okay. I'm okay with it. You're right. You made a very good argument. You presented your facts and evidence respectfully. I'm going to switch my position. I thought she was going to pass out because she was like, what just happened? Dad changed positions and agreed with me. And so we talked to my wife about that later on that night. And I was like, yeah, this is what happened. And so now it's not a thing anymore. It's like, and my daughter wants to grab a protein bar and these are like really filling protein bars as well. So it's not like she's just eating a little bit. So now now my younger daughter, when they eat them, I don't make a fuss about it anymore. I had to swallow my pride. I had to look at the facts and the evidence, and I did have to take a second, but I changed my position. My daughter respected me a lot more about that because we talked about it afterwards, and I was like, did that like totally throw you for a loop? And she was like, well, for a second, when you closed your eyes, I wasn't sure if you were going to ground me for the rest of my life or kick me out of the house. She's like, but no, I appreciated that conversation. I was like, excellent. Very good. So anyways, we still have the protein bars. They're from Aldi's. They're the peanut butter chocolate ones. They're fantastic. Anyways, so moving on to the last point. Another thing we as leaders can do is build systems that allow us to delegate without losing control. Just like I talked about before, sometimes you need to just hand something off to a VP or a manager or a director and say, hey, I need you to handle this because if I handle this, I'm too close to the situation. It's going to be a bad look. Yep, absolutely. Also, that empowers other people. that empowers them to take care of problems for you. And if we think about like, the medieval times of kings and knights and queens and whatever, there was this person who was usually in a castle called the cupbearer or the armor bearer or something like that. And the cupbearer was the person who was going to take a sip of the wine before the king to make sure that there was no poison in the cup. Basically taking on that response, that cupbearer was willing to die for the king so that the king would remain safe. He took that responsibility on. Maybe our directors, our VPs, our managers can do that same thing for us. Maybe we can empower them to make some decisions on our behalf so that we don't have to touch it. And managers and leaders, directors, owners, whoever that I have seen take this approach, man, does it work really well. Yes, there's some guidelines and some boundaries that need to be set, but when you are able to release control of that and let your managers, your directors, your VPs do some of those things for you, sometimes they will go above and beyond just to protect you. Now you don't have to think about it anymore. Let's take the opposite situation. Maybe you're the VP, maybe you're the director, you're the manager who's listening to this. What is it that you can take on for your boss, the owner of your company, that allows them to focus on the things that they need to focus on? Remember, you're not in charge of growing the company. The owner is. And there's only certain things that the owners can do that are going to grow the company and take it to the next level. They have to be focused on owner work. You were hired as the VP, the director, the manager, so that you can do the VP, the manager, the director work. Is your work vitally important to the owner? Absolutely. But the owner is the one who's going to cast the vision, set the mission, grow the company, and make that headway forward for the company to grow. What is it that you can do to take something off of their plate that frees up their schedule so that they can do the owner things? That's really, really important. Another thing that owners can do, leaders, and I think this is all levels, not just owners, but owners, VPs, directors, managers, all of those, is use your KPIs, your key performance indicators, to track progress instead of just sticking your head into the daily chat every single day. Oh, okay, what's going on? All right, catch me up to date. What's going on? I need to know where everybody's at. No. Now you're taking away from their work time. You're taking away from your work time. Let your VP manage those KPIs. Okay, yep. Hey, VP Todd, is everything going great? Yes, we've got one little hiccup in this department over here, but we've already set something in place to remedy that. That's going well. Don't worry about it. I'll give you an update tomorrow. Great. You've heard me say this before. Great leadership comes in bursts of 10 to 15 seconds. That interaction right there was about 10 to 15 seconds. I didn't stick my head into the daily minutia. I got my VP already on top of it, handling it. They're going to give me an update tomorrow. Do I need to worry about anything today? No. Fantastic. I'm going to go back and talk to the marketing director and talk about how we're going to grow our company with our new marketing campaign. Again, staying away from the minutia of the day-to-day tasks so that you can focus on owner things. I'll give you another real life example that I just was part of just a few weeks ago. I was doing some on-site work with a client and giving them some feedback about flow and whatever. And this was a brick and mortar store. So I was working specifically with the owner, and a customer came in, was dealing with one of the sales associates, and had a question that this sales associate didn't know how to answer because that associate was new. So the associate just kind of flagged the owner and was like, hey, I don't know how to answer this question. So the owner came over, talked directly to the customer, and then took over that interaction. Answered the question, yes, but then took over the sale and spent another 20 to 30 minutes with that customer. So let's pull back. My feedback to the owner after that was, hey, I like how you came in and helped your sales associate, because now your sales associate, the new person, knows that you're there to help and support 100%, and that you have the information that they need, and that you are an expert. You are the person that has the answer, so they should go to you. Perfect. As soon as you answered that question, you should have turned that customer back over to the sales associate. because you just lost 20 to 30 minutes of your day when you should have been working on your marketing plan, contacting your distributors, doing these other things that only you can do, but now you lost that 30 minutes. You don't have that back. That sales associate, that's why they're here, is to handle that little stuff for you. You don't need to sell that product. That's why the sales associate is here. So delegate those things. Know when you can step in and when you should step back out as well. Leaders, don't get bogged down in the minutia of the day-to-day stuff. Now, sometimes should you get in there, you've heard me talk about my story from when I was in college and I was unloading trucks at Sears, and our store manager came in and unloaded air conditioners on a July day and 100-degree heat off the back of a semi with us. Yeah. Wow. But he only did it once. He only needed to do it once. He was a new store manager and he was building rapport with the guys on the loading dock. And he did that. And he did a marvelous job at that. That now, anytime he came back into the loading dock and needed some help with something, we would jump to help him because we knew that he was willing, able, and had proved that he was willing to get in the trenches with us. But he only needed to do it once. And that was fantastic. Sometimes you only need to do it once. Sometimes you don't need to do it at all. Leaders, you need to assess that. And that's why you have good people around you. That's why you have co-owners or VPs or directors or managers, whoever. Use them. They are the ones in the trenches on a daily basis. Ask them, hey, do I need to be involved in this? No? Great. Can you handle it? Yes. Awesome. Fantastic. I'm out. I'm going to go do the things that I need to do as the owner of the company. And then step away. Have the faith in your people to step away. Are they going to do it the way that you want it done? Maybe, maybe not. Is it still going to get done? If it is, then let it be. Let it go. Like the movie Frozen. Let it go. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it for you guys. But yeah, let it go and let them do the job. Now, there's this, I don't know if you all remember the Sunday comics, and the Sunday newspaper usually had like a big spread. That's when the comics were color. And I loved reading the comics in the newspaper when I was younger. And there was one comic called The Family Circus. And if you read the comics, you're familiar with this. There was a mom and a dad, and I think it was like 3 or 4 children. And this was kind of set back in like the 60s or the 70s or whatever. And the mom would say, okay, can you go get your brother from outside and tell him to come in for dinner? Sure. And then the next couple panes of the comic strip were this boy going, upstairs to get his baseball glove, downstairs to the garage to get the ball, up to the tree house, over the dog house. They're just all over the yard, every which way. Then to his brother to say, oh, hey, mom says it's time to come in for dinner, instead of just making a straight line. Was the mom checking in on that brother the entire time? Like, hey, don't go upstairs. Hey, don't go to the garage. Hey, don't go to the tree house. Don't go over the dog house. Just go get your brother. No, the mom was busy making dinner. And then when the mom turned around, was the brother in for dinner? Yes. The end result was still the same. Nothing wrong happened. It was just a different pathway to the same solution. So leaders, that's what I would encourage you today is if you can turn it over and delegate, please do that. Do that so you can do the things that you and only you can do in your position. Whether it's owner things, whether it's manager, director, VP things, whatever it is, there are only things that you can do. And if you can take the load off of somebody else, maybe the owner, by doing those things, then yes, do those. As the owners, if you can delegate and take the load off of yourself by letting somebody else do those things, yes, do those things. Should you be involved sometimes? Absolutely. Should you be involved all the time? No, because you have a position where only you can do certain things and only you are the one to do those things. So thank you for joining me today. I know this was kind of rapid fire. We covered a lot of things with analogies and stories, but this is really good stuff. So thank you for joining me today. We will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And next week, we're going to talk about aligning strategies and systems for the best results from your staff. So I hope to see you all next week. Thanks for joining me. Have a great week, everybody.